What is going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii and I am back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. In today's video, we're going to be going through the stage 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 stages of March 2019's GARP Challenge on One Piece Treasure Cruise Global. Now, since this has been released since yesterday, I've had a ton of comments, ton of tweets, ton of messages about uploading a video for this specific content. Now, I've got to say it like straight off the bat, this is very hard content. Not everyone is going to be able to beat this relatively easily. Even with like all the characters in the game, nearly all the characters in the game, it's not really that easy. It's going to be hard for a lot of players to do it, and you kind of need specific units to actually like beat some of the content, or beat it easily, that is. For stage 11, for this one, we have Bobbin. Now, Bobbin is going to be quite key for the final stage against the Khalifa and Nami stages, because they have a defensive percent damage reduction shield. Bobbin helps get rid of that, and then we can use our characters like Lucy on the turn prior to that to give us our type boost, because there is a condition for stage 11 that states you can only use one special per turn throughout the entire run. So the ideal situation is you want to be carrying a buff through to the final stage and then going ahead using the special ability to remove their damage reducing effects, and that is the best way around clearing stage 11 of the GARP challenge. Now, I'm not going to be talking throughout all of the stages of each of these GARP challenges. Mainly, I'm going to be just showing you guys the gameplay, and then when we cut over to a new stage, I want to give you guys some pointers as to what is the best way around this specific stage. So, as I said, for this stage, stage 11, with Khalifa and Nami as the final bosses, having a buff carried into the final room is the best way to do it, and then using a unit that can get rid of percent damage reduction on the final stage is the best way to kill this final stage against Khalifa and Nami. So I'll leave you guys with this gameplay here. Once this gets defeated, we'll go ahead and move on to round 11 of the GARP challenge, and then we'll discuss what are the best ways to tackle that specific piece of content. So now we're going to be moving on to stage 12 of the GARP challenge. This one's going to be against Buggy and his entire crew. But before we get into actually discussing each of these boss stages, I want to talk about the penguins. Now, these are going to be appearing quite often throughout the entire GARP challenge, and whenever you take them down, the penguins with the 10-hit combo barrier, they reduce your crew's cooldowns. So beating them is going to be a pretty high priority, because it allows you to stall less, which means you take less damage, which is obviously going to be quite useful when you're taking on this content. So having a unit with barrier penetration is going to enable you to beat these penguin stages a lot easier, so you can take down the penguins with one character and then focus your damage around on the other mob characters, because if you don't have barrier penetration, you have to do 10 combo hits. So that's at least 3 characters on your team that are dedicated to taking out a penguin, which isn't really always ideal. So talking about these boss stages, I feel like the number 12 GARP challenge for this time around is the easiest of the ones you guys are going to be seeing in this video from stages 11 to 15. And the reason for that is just because all of the bosses bosses are like by themselves. They don't have surrounding mob characters that you have to dedicate resources to, which is kind of nice. So you can just focus all of your attack power on the boss stage itself, which does make it, significantly easier. We have Alvida here, who does have a good barrier, so obviously Akainu does kind of struggle with it a little bit, but still, it's fine. Still able to take her down reasonably easily. She doesn't really have that much HP. The next stage after that is going to be, I believe his name is Moji. I don't remember exactly what this guy's name is, but this guy, he actually will go ahead and give you a full board of strength orbs and count them as negative, and apparently every single turn he will make it like dex orbs, a full board of dex orbs, make him negative, and then he'll give you a full board of quick orbs and then make him negative. So make sure to take him down as quick as possible, and having some kind of orb manipulation would be useful here. I'm not too sure if he has a special interrupt, but if he does, then obviously that's going to be quite difficult, but if he doesn't, then it's going to make it easier just to have some sort of orb manipulation here. Next is going to be Kabaji. Now apparently the 10 turn cooldown is kind of a lie, because apparently he does damage at the end of each turn. So make sure to kill him as soon as possible, but as what I've seen from this kind of dungeon so far, he doesn't actually have that much HP. Then we have Mr. 3. Now Mr. 3 will go ahead and paralyze and special bind your crew, so obviously time skip Nami is going to be a perfect candidate to help you clear this specific stage. Now, talking about the final stage, which is going to be against Buggy, you see that he does have a full board of mob characters that are surrounding him. They all have a barrier. So having a barrier reducer, like I have with Strawberry in this example, makes this fight much, much easier. You can go ahead and target them down. They don't have actually that much health, so that's actually kind of nice. And you see that they do give you a chain coefficient reduction, which isn't that much of an issue. If you do have a chain locker, that will make this fight much easier, but it's not really that significant to dedicate resources to get rid of that. Well, with Akainu anyway, just because that end of turn damage is kind of broken. But anyways, overall, I feel like this is the easiest of the GARP stages thus far, and I'll see you guys in the 13th stage. And now we move on to the 13th GARP challenge, which I feel a lot of people are going to be stuck on just because of how difficult this particular dungeon is going to be. Once again, on stage 1, you can see that there are penguins once again. When you take them down, they give you the cooldown reduction, which is going to make that fight very, very useful. And then on stage 2 is going to be when you encounter the boss of Halloween Corazon and Halloween Sugar. Now, the thing is you do not want to leave them alive after the first turn, because Corazon will blind you for 10 turns, and Sugar, when she gets under 50%, is going to bind your bottom row for 10 turns. So you definitely want to take out Corazon at the very least on turn 1, and then with Sugar, she does bind your crew when she's under 50%. So you can kind of get away with that and just take down Corazon and kind of leave Sugar above 50%, but make sure to not get her below 50%. Otherwise, dealing with 10 turn bind is going to be extremely difficult. And once again, Akainu with his end of turn damage, just showcasing why he's so good for these GARP challenges, because you really just don't have to worry. You don't even have to use special abilities. Just the end of turn damage is just so significant. But after this specific stage, we have Moria, and Moria is also surrounded by some mob characters. The thing about Moria is that he will go ahead and give you a Despair. So I have Colosseum Neptune here to help get rid of the Despair, as well as give us a minor orb boost too. So yeah, having a unit to get rid of the Despair, or to delay Moria and then wait for the Despair to leave, or a Despair Reducer, is going to be the best way around this specific stage against Moria. So following the Moria stage is yet another very, very annoying stage that is going to be quite a problem for a lot of players, is going to be Sindri. Now Sindri is surrounded by 5 raccoon characters. Each of them have a barrier, and they have high defense and low HP. So you can't really break through their defense, but once you break through their barrier, you can go ahead and do regular taps to kill them. And also the fact that apparently whenever you use an attack or an orb boost, I believe something happens. I don't know exactly what that is, but apparently if you use an attack or orb boost, that will cause negative effects to happen. And below 50%, Sindri will also increase her defense, which will make her even more difficult to kill. But her increased defense isn't as hard to beat compared to like base defenses of other mob characters. Like it's a slight increase of defense, and you can kill it normally, so that's not really a big issue. Now, once you end up killing these raccoon characters, you'll be able to move on to stage 5, which is going to be against Kuma. So Kuma is quite an interesting character because he'll actually do a lot of damage on turn 1. So you have to try and take him down as soon as possible. But the thing is, when you actually kill Kuma, he's actually going to deal like 40,000 death damage. So I'm using Raid Batu here to enable me to tank a hit from this character here. And that's what I would suggest to most of you guys, is to bring a bunch of damage reducing effects. Maybe like Legend Robin is also a really good call. It really depends on what characters you have, but Raid Batu is a really good character that's easily accessible, that not only allows you to tank the damage, but allows you to heal as well. Next, we have Perona. Now, Perona, you want to take down her ghosts as soon as possible because they'll always do negative effects whenever they are alive. And if you leave Perona alive on turn 2, she's going to give you a 99 turn chain reduction. So you do not want to leave her alive after turn 2. But every time she's alive, she'll actually do damage. I believe it's fixed damage, so you can't like reduce the damage. She'll always deal a fixed amount of damage to your team. So the next character is going to be Absalom. You want to take him down within 2 turns, because if you do not, he's going to bind one character for 10 turns. So you definitely want to do that, otherwise it's going to be hard to deal with. And when you actually kill Absalom, he's going to blow away a character for 5 turns. So that makes it quite annoying, especially when you move on to the next stage, which is going to be the mob characters with the spider monkey. You want to have a way to get around these guys as easily as possible, or have some mass damage reduction effects. I'm using Colosseum Kid to wave clear it, and then that's going to make that stage a lot easier. Number 9 is going to be against Moria. So Moria, he gives you the attack down, the anti-heal, and he is just an absolute boss. Like, he has so much health, he's really tanky, and also as well, he'll also give himself a 5-turn resilience. So once again, that's going to be quite annoying to deal with, but I am going to be using Raid Batu to tank a hit so I can get my captain back, and then I can go ahead and kill him with the end of turn damage. Now, if you thought all of those other stages were annoying, you haven't seen the boss stage yet. So the boss stage, we have ores and a bunch of night zombies. These night zombies are really annoying because they apply a lot of different buffs, including defensive effects, healing, attack up. If you end up killing the zombies first, I believe they actually get rid of the buffs. And the thing about it is the defense is so high that even if you break through the barriers on the zombie knights, you can't kill them. So having ways to reduce defense is going to be quite key here. As you can see on the top, you cannot use a poisoner or a toxic user, and you cannot delay them. So you cannot bring like Magellan just to cheese it. So that is unfortunate. But yeah, I'm definitely using some damage reduction effects or some defense reducing effects with Garp. He reduces defense by 100%. And then on the second turn, I can use my Neptune, who reduces defense by, I believe it's 80%, which does enable me to kill both zombies, and then the end of turn damage is able to kill ores. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys on stage 14 of the GARP challenge. Alright, so now we get to move on to stage 14, which is going to be against the Straw Hat Pirates. The thing about it is, once again, on stage 1, there's going to be penguins, which you obviously want to take care of, and that allows you to get the extra cooldown reduction. Stage 2 is going to be against Brook. Now, Brook will give you an increased damage taken buff for 5 turns upon entering the stage, and each of the mob characters around him have actually a lot of health. Like, they have like over like 300,000 health, so they are going to be quite hard to beat. And also, if you leave them alive, they will apparently boost the attack as well. So you definitely want to take them down as soon as possible, because you do not want to be dealing with those guys at all. Now, after you defeat Brook, you're going to be moving on to the Duval stage. Duval is kind of interesting. He also has 3 other mob characters that you have to deal with, and there is a preemptive attack from Duval that will give you a 6-turn despair. So this is why I'm going to be using my Corazon on this stage here. Will help me remove 3 turns of despair, and obviously with my sockets, I'm able to remove the other 3 turns of despair, enabling me to, get around all of the negative effects on this specific stage. Now, Duval, I believe, is like the easiest one to take care of out of all of these stages so far, just because he doesn't actually really do anything. Aside from that despair, like, he actually is like really passive. He doesn't really do anything too noteworthy, so you can really take your time on Duval. Even though he might deal a lot of damage, he's definitely going to be a lot easier to deal with compared to some of the other characters so far. But after you defeat Duval, you're going to have to take on Sentomaru and 3 Pacifista characters. Now, the annoying thing about this stage is that they have a specific orb barrier. Now, that is going to be quite hard to deal with because you do need that specific orb in order to take out their barrier, unless if you have a character that does have barrier penetration, which is going to make it a lot easier. But if you want to get around this stage a lot easier, what you want to be doing is bringing a character that has a negative typing to the orb that you need, because Sentomaru on his preemptive gives you a full board of negative orbs, so you can actually plan your team out so you can get the right orbs that you need in order to take out the barrier of each of the Pacifista characters. Now, if Sentomaru is left alive after he attacks, he's going to summon 2 more Pacifistas, and they also will have orb barriers, one with an int orb and one with a psi orb barrier. So following the Pacifistas and Sentomaru, we're going to have the Celestial Dragons. They preemptively will go ahead and remove all your buffs. They're going to shuffle your orbs around, and you see that Saint Charlos actually has a 1-hit Great Barrier. Now, apparently, I never actually had this happen to me yet, but apparently, if Saint Charlos is left alive with no other characters that surround him, he's going to swap your captain with a sub-unit for 5 turns. It's kind of weird. I haven't had that happen to me with all the times I've tried clearing this, but apparently that does happen. Also, something to note is that each of these Celestial Dragons will reduce cooldowns of your characters under 50%. So one of them reduces your left column while they're under 50%, and then one of them reduces your right column when they're under 50% HP. So you ideally do not want to get any of them below 50%. Now, once you beat the Celestial Dragons, you're going to have to deal with Caribou and Coribou. You want to take these guys down pretty much together. You want to try and, burst this stage. You want to make sure that they both die as quick as possible, because if you leave one of them alive, they're going to do negative effects. Also, something to note is that when you enter the room, your entire right column is going to be binded for 6 turns. So with sockets, it's going to be 3 turns. So at least a 3-turn bind remover makes that side of the stage much, much easier to deal with. Guys like Strength Marco and 6+ Rayleigh are very useful characters to use in this specific situation here. So once Caribou and Coribou are dealt with, you're going to be moving on to stage 7, which is going to have a whole bunch of mob characters. The thing about this is that if you do not kill a mob character, they will bind your ship for 10 turns. Literally every single one of them will do this. So if you leave 3 of them alive, you're going to get a 30-turn ship bind. So you definitely want to kill all of these characters on turn 1, because if you don't, you're not going to have a ship for a very long time. So definitely take care of all of these characters on turn 1. And now we move on to stage 8, which is going to have Rayleigh. Preemptively, he's going to paralyze all your characters for 5 turns, and under 20% health, he's going to deal a crap ton of damage to your crew. You're pretty much going to be an instant defeat. So what you can do is, what I would suggest is to just, take your time with him, get him just above 20%, and then you can focus on taking him down. So the second last stage is going to be the fake Straw Hats. This stage actually is kind of nice because they don't actually really do anything aside from their preemptive attack. With their preemptive attack, they cannot be poisoned, they cannot be toxic, and the bottom left-hand unit on your crew will get apparently it's a high chance paralysis, but luckily enough for me, I actually was able to attack with him throughout this dungeon, which was kind of nice. Didn't need to attack with him, but it did help a little bit, the fact that he was able to attack through that paralysis. But they don't actually do anything apparently at any health threshold, so this stage is going to be quite easy as you move on to the final stage, which is going to be the actual Straw Hats. So now we go ahead and move on to the final stage, which is going to be the actual Straw Hat characters. Thing to note here is that they all change your orbs into block orbs, and also they do have a poison immunity, so you cannot toxic them and you cannot poison them, but they don't actually have that much health. And if you have like a team that just has lots of burst potential, like with a really good type boost and a really good orb boost, you're not going to really have too many issues with this stage, just with the amount of damage output that you can get with just an average team. They don't have that much health because there are a lot of characters, so they didn't really overhaul it, so there's like 6 units with 1,000,000 health each. They are relatively easy to take down. But anyways, guys, I'm going to leave you guys with that, and now we're going to talk about the final stage, which is going to be the 15th GARP challenge. So now we have the final stage, the 15th GARP challenge. Now, the thing about this is on stage 1, your health is cut down to like 1% of your actual health. And there are 3 mob characters that have barriers, and they each hit very, very hard. And whenever they get a chance to hit, they will kill you. On stage 2, you have the penguin again that will help you rewind your specials, which is fantastic. And then we're going to move on to stage 3, which is going to be the Vice Admiral stage. This stage is going to be quite annoying for a lot of people. Preemptively, all your int and psi units apparently will get binded for 15 turns. I believe it's int and psi. In my example, it's only int, but I believe it's int and psi characters will be binded for 15 turns. Now, Doberman is definitely the character you want to be taking out first, because if he stays alive, and I believe it's after he attacks, he will apply a damage limiter or damage threshold on the enemy side of the field. So you want to take him down as soon as possible, and do not use any healing special ability on this stage, because if you do heal on this stage, your captains will be binded for a further 20 turns. So definitely do not do that. And when Momonga is below 20% and he actually is about to attack you, he will deal a lot of damage to your crew when he's under 20%. So when he's under 20% and he is not attacking, you're completely fine. So stage 4 is going to be against Smoker and Toadskii. The preemptive attack will go ahead and rewind your specials for 1 turn, and they also have a delay protector as well, so you cannot delay them at all. The thing about this is that under 50%, Toadskii will apply a 10-turn increased damage taken, and then under 20%, she's going to kill you. So ideally, you do not want to get Toadskii under 50%, unless if you are about to kill her. She is going to apply that buff, so you do not want to get the increased damage taken. It's going to make the rest of the run very, very difficult. In my example team, I'm going to be taking this time to go ahead and stall on Toadskii to get my Usopp special up for the next room, which is going to be against Kobe. So stage 5 against Kobe is quite interesting because he gives you 5 turns of anti-heal as well as despairing you for 5 turns. And also after the first turn of attacks, he's going to go ahead and rewind your specials by 2 turns. So having a way to get rid of the despair is going to be obviously really useful. And obviously having units that have the limit break ability of recovery bind reduction is so useful for this particular dungeon, because there are multiple stages that give you anti-heal, and having Treasure Map Big Mom, I believe Usopp's limit break has it as well, and also Strength Marco. Each of these characters on my team specifically all have the ability to remove lots of turns of the recovery bind, which is going to make getting health back much easier. So now we're going to move on to this stage here, stage 6, which has 5 pacifistas, and on their attack, they're going to bind units they are weak to for 20 turns. So ideally, you want to take them out, the ones that are going to be attacking you, and the ones that they obviously bind, so the int characters will bind psi characters, vice versa. Strength pacifista will bind the quick characters, etc. You understand how that works. So yes, you want to take them down, the ones that are attacking. They don't have that much high defense, so you can actually get around them relatively easily. Next stage on stage 7 is Suru. Now Suru gives you a full board of block orbs, and under 50% she's going to orb seal you for 10 turns. Once again, you want to be trying to taking out those mob characters as soon as possible. The ones at the front will actually continuously heal the enemy stage, so you want to try and take them out, definitely, because that healing will be quite troublesome to deal with. And yeah, you do not want to get Suru below 50%. Next stage is going to be stage 8 with the CP9 characters. Now, preemptively, they're going to do some damage to your team. I believe it's a health cut of some sort. And also, what will happen is they give you more anti-heal. So, once again, the limit break ability is going to be very, very useful here. and also they give you attack down on that first turn. Now, whenever you use an ability that will heal you or does any orb manipulation, you get despaired for 4 turns, and they'll also shuffle your orbs after that. And also, after the first turn, Kaku will add % damage reduction to the enemy side of the field for 4 turns. So yeah, once again, kill Kaku first, definitely. You do not want to get the damage reduction on the enemy side of the field, and don't use any healing or orb manipulation. So the second last stage is the 3 Admiral characters. They're going to special bind your middle row for 5 turns. They give you a full board of block orbs, and under 20%, Aokiji will go ahead and bind your crewmates for 13 turns, and under 50%, Kizaru will blind you for 99 turns. So specifically with a V2 Akainu team, you do not want to get blind, because that is going to make running him extremely difficult, of course. But once you take down the 3 Admirals, you're going to move on to stage 10, which is going to be the final stage against Garp. Garp has a 1-hit barrier every single turn, so he's got a 99 turn 1-hit barrier, so you cannot use any damaging or health cutting effects, and also you can only use 1 special per turn against Garp, so you can't even use a character like Trafalgar Law to allow your specials to go through barriers and then use another special ability. So that's kind of annoying that they've kind of built it that way. Also, under 50%, he's going to give you a full board of block orbs as well. Now, Garp actually does have a pretty sizable amount of health. So it is, again, once I said, it is going to be a very hard piece of content, but I was, luckily enough, able to beat it. So, anyways, this has been the full breakdown of all of the more difficult stages of the GARP challenge. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. And if you guys have enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.